So we got to Linq. What is this Linq that everybody talks about? Linq is one of my absolute features of C#. It stands for Language Integrated Query, and it gives the capability to query objects in C# natively. So with Linq, you can query objects in memory like .NET collections, you can query databases, you can query XML, and you can query ADO.NET datasets. Querying .NET collections or objects in the memory is often referred to as Linq to objects. Querying databases is often referred to as Linq to entities. Querying XML is often referred to as Linq to XML, and querying ADO.NET datasets is referred to as Linq to datasets. Now, this is a comprehensive topic and is beyond the scope of this video. Especially Linq to entities, which is used in Entity Framework, is a big topic, and it needs its own course. I'm actually planning on releasing a good comprehensive course on Entity Framework, so if you're interested, make sure to stay tuned. Now in this video, I'm going to show you the basics of Linq and get you started. I'm going to cover a lot of ground so you have a good understanding of Linq and what problems it resolves. So let's jump into code. Here in this project, I've got a simple book class with two properties, string title and float price. I also have this book repository, which has one method called getBooks, which returns an IEnumerable of book. Basically, I have hard-coded a few book objects here in a list. So here I'm returning a new list. This is a generic list of books. I'm using the object initializer syntax here to immediately initialize this list. And then here I'm adding a new book, again using the object initializer syntax to immediately initialize the book. So as you see, our books here have title and a price. Let's look at our program CS in the main method. We simply instantiate the book repository, call the getBooks method, and get the result. Now let's see what we can do with Linq. Let's say we want to display the list of books that are cheaper than $10. If we didn't have Linq, this is what we had to do. We would have to create a new list. We would have to iterate the books collection and then say if book.price is less than $10, add it to cheap books collection. And finally, at this point, we have the list of cheap books. So here we could iterate this collection and display each book title plus its price. So let's run this code. So these are the books that are cheaper than $10. Now, with Linq, we can get rid of this piece of code here and do it with one line of code. So how? All we have to do is to say var cheap books equals books dot take a look at these methods here. These are extension methods, and you should be familiar with extension methods. So if you skip that video, make sure to watch it first. And here you see that these extension methods are defined in a namespace here, Linq. So let me show you a method here where we use where to filter collections. Here I'm using resharper, and as soon as I use the where method here, resharper immediately added a reference to system.linq for me. If you're not using resharper, you have to manually add a reference here. Now let's take a close look at the where method. The where method takes a func of book and bool. Remember func? It's a delegate. It points to a method that gets a book as an argument and returns a Boolean value. And this is what we call a predicate. So the job of predicate is to get a book, assess some condition, and if the condition is true, returns that book such that it will be added to the output. So whenever we see func as a delegate, we can use a lambda expression. Remember lambda expression? If you skip that video, make sure to watch it. So a lambda expression is a way to write an anonymous method, and that can be assigned to a delegate like func here. So here, I will write a lambda expression like b goes to b.price is less than $10. So just to refresh your memory, On the left side of the lambda operator, we have the argument, and on the right side, we have the actual expression. So this is like an anonymous method that gets B, which is a book, as an argument, and executes this condition here. Well, it's more accurate to say evaluates this condition. So if the condition is true, that book will be added to the list of filtered books, which will be cheap books. So with this line of code, we can easily get the list of books that are less than $10. Let's run the application. There you go, we got the same list of books. Now let me show you another method here. Linq also has a method called order by, an order by descending, and this is used for sorting collections. This method gets an argument of type func of book and tkey, which is generic. So again, this is a delegate that takes a book, and then here we need to specify the property of the book on which we would like to sort the collection. So I can write a lambda expression here saying b.title. Let's sort them by title. Now what we can do here, which is extremely powerful, is we can chain these Linq methods. So here I can put order by right after where. In this case, I am filtering the list of books here and then ordering them by title. Let's run the application again. Note that the list is now sorted by title. Linq also has another powerful method, and it's called select. And select is used for projections or transformations. Let's say we want to iterate the list of books, and for each book we would like to convert it to another object. Or maybe we would just like to select one of its properties as a string. Let's say we get a book and select its title. So here, if we call this method, the result here, if we hover over var, look, the result is an enumerable of t, and t is a string. So with select here, we are converting a list of books which have been previously filtered and sorted. We're converting that to a list of strings because we are only selecting the title of the book. So now that we iterate this cheap books collection, we don't have this title and price properties anymore because book is now a string. So let me comment this out. Console write line, book. Let's run the application. So we just got the title of the books. Now in building real-world applications, sometimes the lambda expressions you write here get a little bit complex. So there is a common convention to lay out your Linq methods here, and that is to lay them out like this. This way it's more readable and cleaner. So we filter, we sort, and select a property. Now this syntax is what we call Linq extension methods. We also have another syntax to write Linq queries, and that's what we call Linq query operators. Query operators. I'm going to write the exact same code, but using a Linq query operator. So I'm going to call this one cheaper books. This is how we write it. From B in books, where b.price is less than 10, order by b.title, and select b.title. So these two are exactly equivalent. Linq query operators always start with the from and always finish with the select. So here from, we are saying from B, that's like an argument in books. Now we filter by b.price, we order them by b.title, and then finally we select b.title. Or we could just return the actual book object. In this case, we'll get a list of books. If I hover my mouse here, you see we get an I ordered enumerable of t element, and t element is Linq.book. Which syntax you use, it's, I would say, purely personal choice. In terms of power and flexibility, this syntax is more powerful because internally, all these keywords translate to these extension methods here. And you'll find that in more complex scenarios, there are not keywords for every extension methods that you have here. But also in other scenarios, like when you are doing a group by or grouping lists, I think this syntax is more friendly and cleaner. So there is no right or wrong. It really depends on the situation and on your personal choice. Now for the rest of this video, I'm gonna just stick to Linq extension methods and show you some really cool extension methods that make your life much easier. So I'm gonna get rid of this stuff here. And actually I will delete this here as well. We'll look at more examples in a second. So let's take a look at our list here. Here we have a book called ASP.NET MVC. Let's say we want to return only that book. Where method you have seen so far returns a list of books, an enumerable. But if you want only a single object in the result, that's when you use the single method. So single has pretty much the same argument as the where. It gets a function of book and bool, which is a delegate, and you can use the lambda expression here. So I would say, give me the book whose title is ASP.NET MVC. And I call it here book. Let's put that on the console, book.title. Let's run this. So here's our book. Now let's see what happens if I add something here. So obviously we don't have a book by that name. When I run this, the application crashed. We got an unhandled exception. Invalid operation exception. Sequence contains no matching element. This is one of the errors that you see a lot when working with Linq. So, single method expects that there must be one and only one object in your collection that satisfies this condition. Now, if you're not sure if that object exists or not, you can use single or default. The difference is if there are no objects matching this condition, default will be returned, which in this case would be null. So my book object here will be null, and I cannot access the title property. Let me just show you that book is null is true. Let's run this. There you go. So book is null. We also have a few other similar methods to single. One of them is first. Now first is used to get the first object in a collection. Optionally, you can supply a predicate to filter. Say, give me the first book whose title is, let's say, C# Advanced Topics. Let's take a look at our book repository here. See, we have two books called C# Advanced Topics, and I want to get the first one. So I use the first method here. And here, let me uncomment this and also add the price of the book. Now let's run the application. So we got the book that is called C# Advanced Topics and it's $7. Let's look at our book repository. See, we have two books here and the first one is $7. Similarly, we also have a first or default, and this is similar to single or default. So if there are no books that match this condition, this method returns null instead of throwing an exception. We also have a method called last or default, and you should guess what they do. So let's try this one. Let's run this. So in this case, I got the book that is $9. Another useful Linq extension method is skip and take. What are these? These are used for paging data. So with skip, you're saying skip 2 records or 2 objects and take 3. let's see if it actually works, because here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's fine. So it's going to skip the first two and return the next three. So let's run the application. Now this method returns an enumerable of book. So this should be books. Oops. And I would, the name is conflicting with this books here. So I'm going to call this paged books. And I would iterate the collection, paged books, and put the paged book title on the screen. Let's run this. So we got ASP.NET Web API as well as C# Advanced Topics. Let's double check. So we skipped 2 objects here and we got 3 objects. So skip and take are pretty useful. We also have a bunch of aggregate functions like we have in SQL. For example, let's say you would like to count the number of books. And of course, this is not going to be paged books, it's going to be count. And let's just put that on the console. So we have totally 5 books. We also have a useful method here called max, which is used to return an object that is assumed max of something in a collection. So in the list of books, what does max mean? We kind of have to give it a meaning. In this case, take a look at them. Arguments, we can pass a delegate that takes a book and returns some value here. So what I can do is say return a book that has the highest price. Let's run the application. That's $12. Well, count is not a good name. That max method is returning actually the price, the highest price, not the book that has the highest price. So that should be called maximum price. Similarly, we can have minimum price. Tell me how much is the cheapest book. Sorry, I forgot to put that on the console. So this one is going to be minimum price. So minimum price is $5. So max, min, count, and we also have sum. Let's say we would like to sum this collection based on the price of books. And we call this perhaps total prices, which actually doesn't make sense in this case, but I'm showing you as an example. So the sum is $42.99. So what I wanted you to learn in this video were these extension methods here. Books.where to filter and return a list of books that match a given condition. Or you can use single to return only a single book that matches a given condition. Or single or default, which is safer to use because single, if it cannot find any books that matches the given condition, it throws an exception, whereas single or default returns null. So these are for filtering. We also have first as well as first or default, which is safer. We also have last as well as last or default. We also have a bunch of aggregate functions like min, like max, like count, like sum. I think we even have average. There you go. So you can pass a delegate, say, give me the average of the price. We also have this useful methods here, skip and take, which is used for paging. Now, the beauty of Linq is whether you're querying objects in the memory, or you're querying XML, or you're querying database, you keep using Linq like this. You don't have to learn XQuery to query XML, or you don't have to learn Transact SQL to query databases. Well, it's good to know SQL for programming databases, but in general, you can use Linq in a lot of cases. And what Linq does for you, or what Entity Framework does more precisely, is it takes this Linq extension methods, and when you call them, it translates them to SQL query. So you never have to go and create a store procedure. Again, this is a very comprehensive topic and is beyond the scope of this video. Hopefully, I will release my Entity Framework course soon, and there I will explain all of these amazing things that you can do with Linq. I hope this video gives you a good foundation to start with Linq, see what benefits you get, and gets you prepared for real-world applications. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching.